Werewolf, or Wolfman, involves a human transformation into a creature driven by primal instincts. This transformation is often depicted as involuntary, reflecting the internal struggle against darker impulses. The metamorphosis represents the immature nature of a man's masculine aggression and dominance, pushing individuals to suppress vulnerability in favor of brute strength. Fatherly influence and abuse. Often, the narrative of the Wolfman involves strained relationships with father figures who embody the harsh enforcers of traditional masculinity, instilling a sense of inadequacy or inferiority. This dynamic fosters a cycle of abuse as the father figure exerts control and the son internalizes these harmful patterns, reinforcing and growing the monster within. The protagonist's struggle for identity amidst these overwhelming influences. The duality of the man and the wolf within him represents the conflict between inherent nature and societal pressure. The quest to reconcile these aspects signifies the journey towards finding a balance, rejecting harmful masculine ideals and breaking free from the cycle of abuse bequeathed by the parental figures. The film features a often repeated notion of a father's role to protect his family and the very consequences of a man's fear transitioning into anger and outbursts that alienate both his wife and his child as a result of his emotional immaturity, which seemed to stem from his own childhood, where he was raised by a single father with only order and safety being sought above all else. A childhood that seemed to lack a mother, a childhood with only one side of humanity's complex existence, one side who is more keen to achieve results through aggression and violence. A childhood which left a man full of fear and only himself to bridle his own aggression. Out in the world, he tries his best to learn from the mistakes of his father. With a lack of development in his own emotional toolset, he chooses to abandon the relationship he had with his father, only to carve his own path and battle the very nature of what was passed on to him by his elder. Leaving his father to his own devices and vices, the father becomes the embodiment of the exact thing he sought to protect his son from, only to once again pass along his ill-fated inheritance of belligerence. As the man slowly has his inner demons known as the Wolfman arise from inside him, one of his first senses to go is that of communication and understanding with his own family. He no longer is able to perceive his wife's words to him, and likewise, he cannot speak in a coherent manner. This may symbolize the start of what can create an abuser, someone who cannot properly communicate their own emotions and intentions, nor can they comprehend and empathize with the inner feelings of another. So like that of an emotionally underdeveloped child, they lash out, partaking in physical violence and destruction of property. Such is the nature of an animal. He who has the biggest stature, the biggest roar, and the sharpest claws is the safest, the most feared, and the most respected. While this is a universal language amongst the animal kingdom, the language of violence in that of man and woman only sows fear, hate, and malice. Any respect for such nature is a facade and only perpetuates deceit and thievery. If a man gives into the easier path of anger and fits of rage, he casts out his family from any reasonable interpretation of his intentions and is no longer a harbinger of safety. Rather, he has brought danger right to his doorstep. All responsibilities fall onto the mother's shoulders to nurture and to protect, when the father is too consumed by his own failures of critical reflections turned critical deflections onto others who must suffer the consequences of the seed which was sowed generations prior. In the end of the film, the man is familiar with the path of rage set by that of his father and chooses to fight against his inner weaknesses, and with the help of his family, he ends the cycle perpetuated by his bloodline with his very own life. Whether it be nature or nurture, the struggle is within all of us to fight against our own inclinations towards that which we know is wrong, or else we might succumb to the beast dwelling inside all of us.